nation reckons with the assault on democracy.
The darkest days in the history of our nation.
Frontline tells the story of America's next president.
This man who's wanted to be president for half a century.
America is reeling from its failed war in Afghanistan. It's the latest addition in the list of problems in America, others being increasing social division and political paralysis at home to seeming inability to lead a global mission to tackle climate change. This against the increasingly dominant China has led many to believe that America is losing its power day by day, but whom to be blamed? Today on Behind the Date, we will discuss the signs of a superpower in decline and its rising instability. Our question to you is America declining? And how do you feel about that question? We think the top line is it doesn't need to be. America has blundered in its foreign policy in the past and came back equally spectacularly. There was a great deal of decline around the mid-70s after the disaster in Vietnam, and a decade later, America had won the Cold War and embarked on an untrammeled unipolar supremacy. The sources of America's enormous strength are still pretty much intact. It has a young population. It has a flagging but still rather impressive degree of economic dynamics. It has problems and has growing problems around inequality, poor social indicators around health and education, and to top it all, it has a growing climate crisis of its own. We would say these are few of the considerable new problems which America is struggling hard to get past. But one of the impressive quality of America is to get things wrong and reinvent itself. And the thing that gives many of us pause right now, in response to actual question, is America is absolute decline, is that its problem-solving ability has been somewhat stagnant for a quite while. And this is, of course, the result of the extreme political dysfunction that we see at the federal level. The dysfunction is being magnified by extremism on both sides, but in particular far right of the Republican Party, which is now the balance of power in the Republican base, which seems to be turning against the problem-solving institutions, in particular American democracy itself. Hence the violent end to the Trump administration. The so-called coup attempt took place on Capitol Hill in January 2022. To start this, we can say America largely wasted its unipolar opportunity over the last 30 years in foreign policy that it found itself so similar to the surprise victory of the Cold War in the early 1990s. It was then followed by this kind of time of searching in the Clinton years to figure out what America's proper role in the world should be, what it should do with all this economic and military power. There are some to and froing about liberal intervention if it should be used for advancing human rights. But America didn't do so in Rwanda, where it could have prevented genocide. And then came the 9/11, and that in many ways supplied the orientation that the leadership class, national security establishment was looking for, and clarified to many people's mind what America's role should be, and it argued very much in the favor of intervention. Since wherever America detected a threat, regardless of sovereign boundaries, it intervened, whether by providing financial aid or military support. But after 20-plus years of power projection, it has now started to withdraw from its very aggressive posture in the world. It's withdrawing from Afghanistan, obviously, and ending combat operations in Iraq. But why is it so? Is America afraid of the aftermath or another 9/11 attack? At this stage of the crisis, we can already argue that it takes more than a steep economic crisis to set off a societal collapse, but that's definitely a first step into the chaos. The US has proved to be incredibly resilient, even after having faced numerous catastrophes. In 2008, both the economy and the financial markets experienced one of the deepest recessions ever recorded, somewhat similar to what's happening currently. But then the US recovered from this. Throughout the years, many of us faced major terror strikes, cyber attacks, major pandemic, political embargoes, several contested elections, but every time a nation somehow manages to emerge more powerful than before. In order for a nation like the United States to fully collapse, it would be the victim of cascading failures. On 1st of June 2023, the U.S. was expected to default on its debt, and after a long debate, the U.S. finally has now suspended its debt ceiling and prevented a default. We might see this as a solution, but it's the first indicator of weakening of the U.S. dollar, and the result being the U.S. economy breaking down. If you look at the U.S. debt to GDP ratio, while 77% is considered to be the limit of safety to the debt to GDP ratio, India stands at 83%, UK stands at 99%, while US stands at 134%. And surprisingly, it's more right now than ever in history, not even during the Great Depression, Cold War, 9/11 attack, both world wars. And every time they reach this debt ceiling, they increase it further. There's a 65% chance of a mild recession in 2024 and predicts the unemployment rate will rise to 5% by the third quarter. Government spending was a positive growth driver in 2023 due to federal non-defense spending associated with infrastructure investment legislation passed in 2021 and 2022. However, growth is likely to slow in 2024 and 2025 as infrastructure spending stabilizes. Furthermore, political volatility surrounding fiscal policy, debt, and outlays could impact government spending over the next few years. On inflation, we expect to see progress over the coming quarters, but the path will probably be bumpy than ever. The question here is how much of these problems can be solved by infrastructure bills? Well, we think not pretty much of it can be solved. The combination of the infrastructure bill passed we expect in the regular way with more support from opposition and council. Budget bill that the Democrats want to throw a couple or maybe even $3 trillion of spending to enforce in terms of soft infrastructures, social services, etc., and what they are spending on hard infrastructure. That combination is inefficient and absolutely not necessary. This is not the best way to improve and reform America. Nonetheless, this represents a lot of potential progress, and we would signal the prospects for a massive rollout of climate-related infrastructure, which in turn has the potential to change the politics of climate change in certain industries and interest groups, and in the states perhaps even more than at the national level.
We fail to repair today will have to be rebuilt tomorrow, at many times the cost.
That's a big deal, and after these decades of essentially no movement on climate change at the federal level in America, that's something to watch and be optimistic about. In conclusion, the narrative we've explored today is one of multifaceted challenges for the United States, raising questions about its global standing, internal cohesion, and economic resilience. The recent events in Afghanistan, coupled with political divisions, hint at a potential decline in America's power, prompting us to ponder whether it is an irreversible trajectory or a momentary setback. While acknowledging the nation's historical ability to rebound from adversity, there is a sense of urgency to address current issues. The dysfunction at the federal level, exacerbated by extremism, poses a threat to America's problem-solving capacity. Economic concerns, marked by the debt ceiling debates, inflation, and predictions of a mild recession in 2024, emphasize the importance of financial policies. The passage of infrastructure bills offers a glimmer of hope, though questions linger about the efficiency of their implementation and the ability to address the root causes of the challenges at hand. In the face of these challenges, President Biden's administration is tasked with steering the nation toward a future defined by resilience, unity, and progress. The road ahead necessitates collaboration, innovation, and a steadfast commitment to the principles that will shape the American spirit. The outcome will undoubtedly shape the legacy of this administration and influence the trajectory of the United States for years to come. In our next chapter, we'll delve into more such topics of famous people, controversial stories, and heart-wrenching assassinations of popular figures. If this exploration through history resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Date. Until then, let's continue our journey through the pages of the past, where every chapter has a story to tell.